2015 best movie so far. Roll it! Welcome to Works Media. My name is Mateus, and today I'm going to be highlighting the top 10 best movies of the year so far. You might be wondering why I'm waiting so late to do this, and I'll tell you. After the summer, we cease to have as many huge blockbuster movies, and we focus more on artsy, character-driven films. The quality of films that get released from September to the end of the year tend to be the best films of the year. Not that awards matter, but for example, in 2013, all 9 of the Academy Award Best Picture nominees came out from October to December. So the safe September is the line in the sand where all these top 10 lists will probably drastically change. And it's so late in the year that some of these movies you might be able to grab on DVD, or if not now, soon. But first, here are some honorable mentions. Dope! It was a great take on the coming-of-age high school kid story filled with hip-hop nerds, drugs, and comedy. Funny story, this is actually going to be my first review, but I butchered it so badly I deemed it unwatchable. I think I counted doing some 20 takes just trying to get the cast names out. Oh god, it's horrible. In the review, I think I made it a 7.4. Maybe I'll make a blooper reel someday? I don't know. Action time with Mission Impossible 5. This was a pleasant surprise. How many fifth movies can you say are some of the best of the series? I can only think of 2. Fast and Furious and Batman Begins. I say Empire, but we're talking about the 5th film released. Anyways, biopic time with Straight Outta Compton. This was a long and great view of how this pioneering hip-hop group began. It was filled with great performances, and if you haven't seen it yet, it's still in theaters, so do yourself a favor and go out and see it. And now for something completely different. Tale of Princess Kaguya. Most of you are gonna be like, what is this? Don't second guess it. This movie was great. This one came out earlier this year from the famed Studio Ghibli animation studio that brought out animation classics like Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away. It's honestly one of the most gorgeous films I've ever watched. The animation is done in this really cool mix of chalk and water-like styles. It's really a very unique viewing experience, and it's definitely up to par with the other Studio Ghibli releases in the past. And now for the top 10, the whole reason you probably clicked on this damn video. Number 10 is It Follows. This low budget horror flick, essentially about an STD that makes your loved ones appear to slowly walk towards you and kill you unless you screw someone else to make it follow them. Regardless of who it follows, it follows. Movies like this one show what you can really do with a relatively simple plot and low budget, but know how to shoot your movie and use what you do have to be creative and fantastic. This is the best horror movie since The Conjuring, and if you're into non-traditional, creepy-ass horror movies, then look this one up. On to number 9. I did a review for the movie, which you can click on here, but this movie was a huge surprise. You get a pretty great actor in Joel Edgerton directing and writing and starring in his first feature film, and you assume it's gonna be shit. But what comes out is a wonderfully directed suspense thriller with an ending that keeps you thinking about the power that people can have over you. The question to everybody, what would you do if someone from your past came back to haunt and potentially ruin your life? On to number 8. Cop Car. Alright, this movie is hard to find. It was only here for like 2 weeks in Columbus and it disappeared, but I'm glad I saw it when I did because this movie was great. I've noticed a recent resurgence for neon and 80s synth music in a lot of recent movies. Drive, Nightcrawler, Only God Forgives, Turbo Kid, Kung Fury, and it plays into that a little bit in this film. This film is about 2 kids who steal a cop car they find by a tree in a field, and Kevin Bacon plays a corrupt cop of said car. It's a chase movie for the most part, and it has 2 of the best, most honest portrayals of children I've ever seen in a film. That's saying a lot given like Goonies and shit. I mean, there's a point where all the kids play with the like gadgets and stuff inside the cop car. Who wouldn't want to do that if you found a cop car? Kevin Bacon, on the other hand, is usually hit or miss, but this one he is hit and hit hard. Aside from the kids, he's the biggest standout in this movie. The director John Walt will be directing the new Spider-Man reboot just based off his skills from this flick. I think he'll do a great job. This is a surprisingly great first effort from a first-time director. On to number 7. Love and Mercy. This little independent film came out earlier this year starring Paul Dano and John Cusack as Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. Dano plays the younger version and Cusack the older. Younger portions, in the 60s, focus on his struggle with his emergent psychosis while trying to make their seminal record Pet Sounds. The older portions, in the 80s, Wilson is now a broken and bewildered man under constant 24-hour watch of his shady therapist, Dr. Eugene Landy, played by Paul Giamatti. The acting is superb. Paul Dano is always fantastic. I wish he'd get better roles because he has some actual fucking chops. Case in point, but the real surprise here is John Cusack. Much like Kevin Bacon, he's hit or miss, but this one he is definitely hit. He hits it out of the park. He's been rudimentary bland for a while now, and out of nowhere we get this performance. Without seeing the rest of the year, I could say this performance could earn him an Oscar nomination, but I mean, I doubt it will. His performance is so damn nuanced and developed, you wonder where the hell has this performance been his whole career? Anywho, on to number 6, Avengers: Age of Ultron. Yeah, no, it's not as good as the first one, but who cares? The first one's one of the most fun movies I've ever had in the theater in my life. How the fuck are you ever gonna compare to that? With the comparisons aside, it's still an awesomely entertaining picture. I saw it 3 times, and honestly it got better from the first time I saw it, which I was initially underwhelmed. But who can deny it's still a fun movie? I know it's hard to separate the comparison between the first one, but it's still a fun movie if you think about it alone. James Spader was like perfectly cast as Ultron, but in my opinion the best part of the movie was the Vision. You didn't see him for very long, but when you did see him, it mattered. Paul Bettany, just perfect casting for that. Like, he just fit that role, like, to the T. Admittedly, it's a flawed movie, but it's hard to hate any movie that has all your favorite Marvel heroes jumped up into one movie. That fact alone looks over a lot of the problems that the movie had. And the action scenes in this were great. The truck scene with the bike, the train car scene, the last action sequence, that thing was intense. If you stand this movie alone, it's a damn good time at the movies. On to number 5, The End of the Tour. This is my most recent review, which you can check out here. This is a deep dialogue flick that has some of the best writing all year so far. It's a small film, takes place over 5 days, but some of the best films can be films that don't need any bangs and whistles to get its point across. On to number 4, Kingsman. Kingsman. Oh man. This movie was great. Aside from one other movie in this is probably the most fun I've had in the theater in a long time. Definitely didn't expect much from the trailer, but it's essentially a parody on spy films that doesn't just play on typical spy tropes, but it becomes its own thing altogether. It also has possibly the best action scene I've ever seen. Church scene. That's all I gotta say. Who would have thought the King, Colin Firth, would have been able to pull off a super spy of all things? I mean, when initially he was even doubting it, but he pulls this off. I know this is on video now or streaming, so go out and get it. You will not be disappointed. Number 3, Ex Machina. This low-budget, small, smart sci-fi flick from earlier this year is a nice breath of fresh air. And I'm glad it made its money back and then some, because we need studios to back smart, interesting sci-fi movies. Anyway, for the uninitiated, it's about 2 tech employees. One is a genius-level CEO of this tech company, played by Oscar Isaac, and the other is his chosen employee, Domhnall Gleeson, to test out his new advanced top-secret robot he created in his house. Alicia Vikander plays as the robot. The film focuses on 2 engineers trying to test whether a human can tell whether a robot is a robot or a human. The Turing test. The plot thickens from there as the robot is perhaps more advanced than they even knew. It's well written and challenges the viewer to wonder how we will handle human-like robots when they inevitably become more and more advanced. It's a quiet movie, and if you see a quiet movie in the theaters, you need the audience to be quiet. So, let me tell you a story. I was sitting in the theater with a friend of mine watching this movie, and there was 2 guys in front of us. One guy was making these sounds. Every single time the robot was like naked, or you could see like parts of her thighs or ass or chest or anything, this old man would go like, oh, oh, oh. I don't want to be that guy, but I had to ask him to stop because it was weirding me the fuck out. Oh. Anyways, I mean, I'm never going to be able to not see this movie and not think of that moment. Ugh. Ugh. It's very unsettling. Anyways, it's a quiet, methodical film that, regardless of the groans, did not detract from how great it was. Much like a lot of the films on this list, I haven't given a score for because the channel wasn't started yet, but the last 3 I'm going to give a score, and this one I'm going to give a 7.8 out of 10. I'm a sucker for a good sci-fi movie. Groans aside. On to number 2. It's Mad Max. Come on. This had to be up here. And you're probably wondering what number 1 is, but you'll have to wait for that. In my honest, humble movie reviewer's opinion, this has set a new bar for action films. It's got a perfect blend of practical effects and special effects. Just check these pictures out. The top one is before the effects, and the bottom one is after. It's what true modern cinema is, using everything you have at your disposal to make the best possible image and film you can. Practical explosions look better on film than CGI, so let's use real explosives. Nobody's really going to be focused on the background, so let's use CGI to make the background look like more of a complete picture. I saw this movie 3 times in the theaters because once you see it once, you gotta show it to at least 2 more people. It's so much fun. This movie is full of adrenaline. It moves fast, never has a moment of dullness. The story is simple and easy to follow, and Charlize Theron's Furiosa character, with one movie, just became one of the best female action stars of all cinema. George Miller, our director and writer of this movie, at 70 is back, and man, is he back with a bang. I give this movie an 8.3 out of 10. It just came out on video. Apparently it's selling like gangbusters. So go out and get it. So on to my number 1, and that's Inside Out. This movie hit me hard. I walled up 6 times, and 3 of those times I had tears like washing down my face. Pixar knows how to make the feels come, but man, they hit this one hard. Hit you right in the nostalgia button. Tells its tender story of what goes on in a 10-year-old girl's brain when her family moves from the Midwest to San Francisco. I've seen movies with heart like E.T., Homeward Bound, and I've even seen Pixar movies with heart like Finding Nemo, WALL-E, Up, but this one might top all of them. Pixar took every little bit of what it means to be a kid and what it means to experience childhood and just just stabbed you in the heart with it, just like stabbed you, and then brought it welling to the surface in the form of tears. So many tears. I've never been this emotionally connected to a movie in all of my years. When I saw this in the theater, at least 4 times you could hear nothing in the audience but sniffling. Just so much sniffling. So much sniffling. Which is the collective sound of everyone's heart being ripped out from watching a fucking kids movie. I give it a 8.5 out of 10. This is why people go to the movies. It's amazing how an hour and 41 minutes can make the audience connect with the character and think about their own lives all so damn thoroughly. Well, that's it. Those are my favorite films of the year so far. So anywho, if you like what you saw, then hit that subscribe and like button, and leave a comment down below, and tell me what you thought of the movies, and let me know what your list is. You can also send me a tweet at WorksMediaTime. See you later, guys!